Time for another exciting episode. Now today's recipe is taken from our new cookbook. It is coming soon. We are busy creating recipes, photographing recipes, writing them all up, getting it all ready. Cannot wait to share Peter Sidwell's Kitchen, the cookbook, with you later on this year. Now today's recipe uses my very favourite Marmite. Now don't switch off because it's not essential that you add it. But by golly, it doesn't half taste better when you add this one. So we're going to make homemade hash browns. I love this recipe. I actually created it in lockdown with Kerry and the kids and the dogs many years ago now. And it's bubbled its way back up into the world. And it is time to make it properly in the kitchen for the book. Now let's get started. Right, first thing we need to do is get our jacket potatoes on. So if you're having jacket spuds tonight for dinner, make extra. You don't just have to specifically make this recipe, all right? Now I've got some random spuds. Now these two, you see these, Carlos, are far too big for these. I mean, if I just show you them, what's going to happen? That one's going to cook. That one's going to be raw in the middle, okay? So it might seem obvious, but to some it's not. So cut it in half, put it face down, because I don't want it to roast. I want it to bake. It's a bit of a gnarly bit in there, but we'll get rid of that later. So put them together. Let's get some olive oil. And let's just drizzle that on. I want these skins like the best jacket potato you can possibly imagine, okay? So a little bit of oil, turn them all round, get them all coated nice. Hello, Pip. How did you know I was doing this? Okay, get them nice and shiny and lovely, all right? Get your sea salt. Now, I don't use table salt for this recipe because if I sprinkle table salt on that, everything's going to be really, really salty. So I tend to use a lovely Maldon sea salt that we have here in the UK. I'm sure you've got your own local sea salt. It's just a nicer thing to have. And you sprinkle it on, and what happens is it draws moisture and it allows the skins to go so crispy and so lovely, all right? Whack them in the oven. I've got mine on at 180 degrees. They're going to take about 40 to 45 minutes. Now that very much depends on the size of your potato. So use your common sense. Take them out after 45 minutes, give them a little squeeze. They should be soft in the middle, crispy on the outside, okay? If you're not sure, put them in for a bit longer, but you must be able to give them a little squeeze. Now we'll come back when they're ready. Right, jacket potatoes are ready. They are crispy on the outside. They're going to be soft and fluffy in the middle. Look at those. It's a sight to behold, that. A lovely jacket potato. Now look, that's what I was talking about. Can you see that, Carlos? Give them a little squeeze. You can even hear how crispy they are. Yeah? So let's just carefully pop them onto here. And because we cut the big ones in half, we've got nice soft potatoes, no matter where we go with it. Right, what we need to do now is get rid of the moisture that's in there. And when I cut these open, you'll see all the steam flooding out of them, yeah? Steam is what we don't want, okay? We don't want moisture in these. We want them to be nice and light and fluffy, all right? And the way to do this is getting rid of all that steam. When I make fresh gnocchi, this is how I do it as well. So mashed potato, cut them open, get rid of all that steam, that's moisture coming out of those all the time, okay? Really, really important you get rid of that moisture. So once they're cooled enough for you to handle, just chop them all up, okay? So I'm being very impatient because I want to keep this moving for you.
Just get rid of that bad bit. We don't want that. All that.
But just chop them up. It doesn't have to be perfectly chopped at all. And I'll show you why in a minute, okay? I mean, look at all that steam. It's just what you don't want. Isn't it, Pip? I've got a Labrador by my side, waiting for anything that just might drop. Bless you. Ever the optimist, my dog. Right, and then just scoop all your potato pieces. And now I know it looks like a bit of a mess at the minute. It doesn't look beautiful. But honestly, once I get going, you will realise what an amazing recipe. Has to be one of my favourites in the book. It is an absolute winner. Okay. Let's just pop that back down there. Just going to clean these up. Now remember, if you've got any questions at all, please post them in the comments below. I am here to help. And if you want the recipe for this, it's going to be in the new book. If you want the new book, just type new book in the comments below. It'll launch into Facebook Messenger, follow the instructions, and it'll take you to our website where you can pre-order it if you want to. If not, that's fine too. Right, ground onion. All right, we want a nice savoury flavour. So I've got some dried onion flakes. I love these, they're great, they're so underrated. And then let's get a nice big spoon and then just stir all that together. And then a little bit of seasoning, a little bit of black pepper in there, a little bit of salt, not too much because we're gonna glaze it Marmite. We like glazing things in Marmite, don't we, Emily? Can't quite convince you to Marmite, can I, Carlos?
No.
Oh, we'll get there. We'll get there. Right, corn flour. This is the magic ingredient that will help this bind, okay? So you just want a tablespoon. You don't need a lot. It's my last tablespoon there. It's a good job. And then just stir it together. And that starch will just kind of absorb the moisture and just kind of stick everything together, okay? So it works perfectly. Great way to use up leftover potatoes. You could do this with leftover roast potatoes if you wanted to. You could do it with leftover new potatoes, jacket potatoes, whatever you like. Potato wedges, make extra. Okay, so we're going to pop it into a mould now. So I've got a 20 centimetre square brownie tray, all right? And I'm going to line it with a little bit of parchment paper. Screw the paper up like so. Unravel it. And then you're able to just push it into all the corners, all right? Really easily. So you don't have to cut it into, you know, and fold it and all this, that and the other. Screw it all up, shove it in. And then just pop your potato and your corn flour mixture in. So corn flour is gluten-free, is it not, Emily? Yeah. There you go. So another one for the gluten-freers, if that's important to you. You could probably use rice flour as well if you wanted to. What you need is something that will just kind of bind. It needs a starch in there, okay? So, and just use the back of your spoon, okay? Press it down. What I tend to do is then fold the parchment paper on top. And then take another tin the same size as if you've got it, press it down. Nice and heavy, and then whack it in the fridge overnight or for at least 4 hours, okay? It needs time to firm up. Okay, so this one I did yesterday. So you can see, if I just take it straight out, done. It will also freeze if you want it to. You just need to make sure that it's airtight, so wrap it in some cling film. But look, I've now got a solid piece that I can just cut into whatever shape I want. You know, if you were doing this for the kids, you could use one of those like cookie cutters and make them different interesting shapes and sizes if you wanted to. Okay, so we're going to cut this into portions. Now you can literally cut it into whatever you like. It really doesn't matter. So what I'm going to do is, because I want to sit a fried egg directly on top, I'm going to cut it into sort of quarters, but I'm just going to trim it. So I've got some nice straight edges, because that's what chefs like to do, but If you're at home, you really do not need to do that. So, there we go. And the good thing about any trimmings as well is you can then repress them if you want to, or you can have little crispy bits. Now, I thought about this, and I think this is absolutely perfect for the air fryer. If you brush this with a little bit of oil, or spray it with some oil, and then whack it in an air fryer nice and hot, but I think that will work really, really well. So, because I know tons of people have got air fryers out there these days. So, let's take those two. I'm going to move all these pieces onto here and just pop that there, and we'll use that another day. I'm actually probably going to freeze that. Okay. A little bit of olive oil. And what I'm going to do is just use my hand and just rub the oil all over the hash brown. Okay? We don't need any seasoning because we seasoned it when we made it, okay? So that oil side down. Ready? Straight in. Love that sound. That is the sound you want to hear when you're cooking. If it doesn't sizzle, it is not ready, okay? So let the pan get nice and hot. I'm actually going to put all those little crispy bits in because in a minute I'm going to add some butter. And that's when the gnarly bits and all the little crispy bits are going to happen. You don't want to waste them. Right, give them a little shuffle around. Make sure they haven't stuck. I'm using a nice non-stick pan here, so I know that they're not going to stick at all. You could also put these in the oven as well, under the grill if you wanted to. It's really, really straightforward. Now, let's get ready for the star of the show. You either love it or hate it, and you will know exactly what I mean. If you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. All right? Now, wherever you are in the world, if you are not in the UK, you might not get this. If you are in Australia, you'll be using the imposter that is Vegemite. It's the real deal, this one. All right? This is the real stuff. You'll have to use your Vegemite. But never mind, you know, use what you can. Now, if you don't like Marmite, don't add it. Just all you need to do is just take it out. Okay? But what it does is, I think eggs and Marmite on toast is flipping amazing. So good. And I'm just trying to sort of replicate that flavour. The saltiness of the Marmite with eggs and potatoes is going to work. Right, let's turn this over. It is important that you get a bit of colour on these first before you start introducing Marmite and butter and things like that. Now I've turned them over, what I'm going to do is, on another pan, I'm going to get my eggs ready. Okay? So, a couple of, well, I'll just do one fried egg at a time for this one. A little bit of oil in there. Room temperature eggs cooks much better, okay? So they're just cooking up nicely. Now, I'm going to add my butter in. Don't show Emily how much butter I put in there. And then a teaspoon of Marmite on top of the butter. You see that right, Carlos?
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Oh, Emily, you'd love this. Oh, look at that. Now we're talking. Make sure those hash browns can keep moving. Now, as the Marmite's introduced, give that pan a little shake, all right? Make sure it melts with the butter. And I'm going to keep doing that until it incorporates, because if you just add the Marmite and leave it, it'll hit the bottom of the pan and it'll start to burn. And what we're trying to do is glaze this hash brown in Marmite. Oh, look at that. Let's flip this one over. Now look at that. That's serious, that. That is, oh. My dad, I think, would love this. I think this might convert your mum and dad, Emily. No. I think. Come on, Carlos. You're edging towards my way of thinking, aren't you, with Marmite?
It looks nice. I don't mind 1-2 bites, but I think for me it's too much. It's too overpowering.
If you know, you know. Right, let's get a fried egg. We're nearly there. I got very excited when I photographed this for the book, didn't I, Emily?
Yeah.
It's one of my favourite recipes. There's always a Marmite recipe in every book I've ever written. Right, let's move that out the way. Our hash browns are just teasing me in that pan, waiting to be eaten. Look at that. Right, let's swap these over. And then we will just very simply turn those potatoes down. Just let them warm through, let them glaze up. And then let's get a lovely fried egg. You could do poached eggs. You could do scrambled egg if you wanted to. But this is a treat. Fried egg. It's not very often you have a fried egg. And when you do, it's a treat, isn't it? So let's grab this. Don't worry, Carlos, I've got plenty of eggs. There's one each for us. Don't you worry. Right. Let's get this. So use a silicone plate, slice there, and just pop that straight on there. There we go. And we need to make sure that we get some of these little Marmite bits, because they're the best bits, aren't they? There we go. And then just, because the pan's non-stick, you see that? Yep. It's that non-stick, it just slides around, and that's exactly what we want. Okay? Almost there. Now, if you want the recipe, please type new book into the comments. It'll launch into Facebook Messenger. Follow the instructions, and it will allow me to send you a quick message to say we're going live in 2 minutes. It'll also, if you want to give me your email address, it'll keep you on the newsletter, and it'll also launch into our website where you can pre-order the book if you want to. So we just thought it was a handy little piece of technology that we can use, and it means you can get the book really easily. It's coming out this summer, but it's always good to get a heads up. And if you want it personalising, I will happily do that for you. There we go, Carlos. Look at that. Oh, ho, ho, ho. Quickly put another egg in for me. There we go. Now, for me, this absolutely needs one last thing. The tiniest little bit of black pepper on that yolk. All right, there we go. Just clean that. And that is how you make my homemade hash browns glazed in Marmite, topped with a fried egg. Marmite glazed hash browns with fried egg. It's good. Stay tuned.